This is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition. Short story, Killa Q, Part 1. Andy, wake up. The boy is gone, the Queen Mother said. What you mean gone, Bella? Pop said. I mean, I looked all over this house, and Q is nowhere to be found. Pop's Andy said, I made it explicitly clear to that boy that he's not to leave this house for any reason other than school and track practice. The Queen Mother said, I heard you, but clearly he didn't. Pop's Andy said, Where's Donnie? The Queen Mother said, He's in his room, sleeping. Pop's Andy said, Well, maybe you should do the same. The Queen Mother said, How am I supposed to sleep when that boy's out there doing God knows what with God knows who? Pops Andy said, The boy is 16 years old. He's got to find his own way, and there'll be natural consequences along the way. There's nothing that you can do about it right now, Bella. We'll deal with it when he gets home. The Queen Mother said, So I'm just supposed to do nothing? Just let the boy run around the streets doing whatever? I worked too hard to get out of the life. I'm not about to stand idly by and watch my son get in it. Pops Andy said, And you're absolutely right. But there's nothing that you can do right now. The Queen Mother said, So what am I supposed to do? Pops Andy said, Pray and go to sleep. Meanwhile, the four young bulls are tearing up the streets of Brooklyn on a mission of retaliation, retribution, and revenge. For the past 4 nights, the ringleader, Quincy Anders St. James IV, affectionately known as Q, and his 3 of 4 friends, Tough, Stretch, and Woody, have found one or more of the young men associated with the attack of the St. James's only daughter, Anya. Anya is only 11 years old. She's also deaf and the apple of her big brother's eye. So he's always been an overprotective big brother. On the day that his baby sister was victimized, he was at track practice. His younger brother Donovan, the middle son, was responsible for ensuring that Anya made it safely to the block after school on the day that Anya was victimized. Every day after school, the brothers would take the A train from their high school to their neighborhood, walk 3 blocks to Anya's school, and walk behind her and her 2 friends as they walked home. At 11 years old, Anya was already fiercely independent, and despite her disability, she was also popular. So she wasn't having her big brothers walking with her home from school. They were relegated to trailing behind, and their parents insisted that they keep an eye on her, at least until she made it to the block. The St. James family was well known and loved on their Classen Avenue block in do-or-die Bed-Stuy. So once Anya hit the block, she was good. So on that fateful day, Donovan was trailing behind, and he stopped when he approached his neighborhood girlfriend Moni's house. She was sitting on the steps of her brownstone waiting for her man. While keeping an eye on Anya, Donovan gave Moni a hug and a kiss and said, She about to go to one of her homegirls' houses and do homework. You coming through? Moni said, Now, Donovan, you know your mother don't want me in her house when she not home. Donovan wrapped his arms around her and buried his head in her neck and said, Come on, little mama. At 14 years old, Donovan already had game. If I ain't worried about it, you shouldn't be. Moni said, That's what you said the last time your mother caught me in your closet, and I had to beg her not to take me home and tell my parents. If I get caught again, I know she gonna snitch, and my daddy gonna kill me and you. Briefly taking his eyes off Anya, Donovan said, Your daddy ain't gonna kill Ish. You know what? Forget it. Looking up just in time to see Anya and her friends cross from their side of the street to her friends, Donovan said, I ain't never had to beg for no snatch. Either my girl gonna act like my girl and come, or she ain't. He shrugged his shoulders and walked off towards home. 30 minutes later, Donovan was on the phone with a random, a chick he met at high school who he was making arrangements with for him and his best friend Mitch to visit her and her homegirl on Saturday over in East New York when he heard the doorbell ring. When he looked out of the third floor window of his parents' brownstone, on his porch was Moni. When he opened the window, he yelled out, "I can't open the door 'cause my mommy not home." Moni said, "Don't play with me, D. You wanted me to come. I came. I can go home." Donovan quickly ended his call, sprayed some cologne in his bedroom, and ran down the 2 flights of stairs to let Moni in. About 2 hours later, huffing and puffing and sweating profusely, Donovan rolled off of Moni because the phone was ringing. He knew it was his mother because of the signature ring. She let the phone ring twice, hung up, waited a minute, and then called right back. When he finally got to the phone, the Queen Mother said, "Donnie, where are you supposed to be right now?" Donovan said, "Come on, Ma, it's D or Donovan. I'm too old for this Donnie stuff." The Queen Mother said, "Boy, I named you. I call you whatever the hell I want. I don't have time to play with you, boy. Where you supposed to be?" Donovan said, "What you mean? I'm waiting for Anya to come home and then I'ma leave." The Queen Mother said, "Let me guess. You got one of them fast-tailed girls in my house and you done lost track of time. Again. If Anya wasn't home an hour ago, you were supposed to go and get her." Donovan said, "Ma, ain't no fast-tailed girls in this house. I don't even like fast tail. I like my tail slow." The Queen Mother said, "Boy, watch your mouth and get that girl out of my house. I don't have time for these games, Donnie. I'm about to call Stacy and tell her to send Anya across the street. As soon as she hits that door, you need to make your way to training. And if she's not there in 5 minutes, go get her." Donovan said, "Yes, my dear." Donovan wrapped up what he started with Moni, jumped in the shower, and just as he was throwing his clothes on, he heard Moni yell from the front door, "She's here, D. I'm heading out. Love you." Donovan ran past Anya and out the door, headed to training. Donovan was a problem, not just with the girls, but he was already second in his weight class in boxing and well on his way to obtaining his black belt in jiu-jitsu in the spring. And now he was headed to training for mixed martial arts. Donovan had always been hyperactive and super intelligent, so his parents did everything they could to keep him busy and his mind occupied in order to keep him out of trouble. His IQ was off the charts and he was a savant. At 14, he didn't have a lot of friends, but he had no problem getting girls. He was never the one to bully. In his hurry to get to training, he didn't notice that something was wrong with his little sister. About 30 minutes later, when Q got home from track practice, he heard his sister crying in her room, and when he tried to find out what was wrong, she wouldn't tell him. As the oldest son of the St. James family and a 16-year-old young man, he was about his business. So he went across the street to question Anya's best friend, Drea. Drea said, "I don't know what's wrong with her. Nothing happened at school. And we came straight here and did our homework until your mother called and said that she had to go home." Q said, "And you're sure that you don't know what's wrong with my sister?" Drea said, "I don't know nothing." When the Queen Mother and Pops Andy got home, they tried to talk to Anya, but she wasn't talking. She skipped dinner, got in the shower, and went to bed. Drea's mother, Stacy, wasn't any help. She didn't get home until about 30 minutes before the Queen Mother called her, telling her to send Anya home. And when she questioned Drea, Drea was tight-lipped. Less than 2 months later, it was obvious that something medical was going on with Anya. Like a good Caribbean mother, the Queen Mother kept up with the use of sanitary products in her home, and having only one daughter, it wasn't hard to do. Anya should have had 2 menstrual cycles and been in need of replacements, but at 11 years old, she wasn't hip to the ways in which parents keep track of those things, so she didn't even think to dispose of the unused pads. And she didn't even notice that she missed her periods because she was preoccupied. She'd been a little distracted, trying her best to keep everybody from finding out what happened between her and King. King was the leader of a crew out of Marcy Projects. He was a 15-year-old boy who had absolutely no business associating with Anya and her friends. He and his crew had made it their business to frequent the park near Anya's neighborhood where her and her friends hung out, and show up at the elementary school before Q or Donovan arrived. His main man was Drea's brother, Andrew, better known as Drew. At 15, the two boys were well on their way to becoming hardened criminals. They were already skipping school, picking fights, pushing drugs, and taking advantage of young girls. Unfortunately, they picked the wrong young girl. So one morning, after Anya got dressed for school, she came out of her room and saw the Queen Mother. The Queen Mother signed, "Let's go." Confused, Anya said, "Where? And why are you still home, Mommy?" Anya and her friends usually walk to school together. The parents would take turns walking them to the corner, and today was not the Queen Mother's turn. Getting no answer, Anya followed her mother to the car, got in, and quietly waited to find out where they were going. When the Queen Mother pulled up to the pediatrician's office, Anya was confused. She signed, "Why are we here?" The Queen Mother didn't answer. She said, "Get out of the car." As Anya and the Queen Mother waited in the exam room for the doctor, the Queen Mother said, "Something's been going on with you for several months now. I've tried and tried to get you to talk to me, but you've refused, and I don't know why. You haven't been yourself, Anya. I refuse to leave this office today without answers." After Q and Donovan verified that their parents' car wasn't parked outside and nobody was in the house at all, Q said, "The answering machine." They made a beeline for the answering machine in the living room, and seeing the blinking light, they prayed that there was a message that explained why Anya wasn't at school that day and no one was home. Q pressed play on the answering machine, and there was a message from Pops Andy saying, "Your sister's sick. We had to take her to the doctor. We'll be home as soon as we can. Don't leave the house. Don't let anybody in." A few hours later, when Pops Andy, the Queen Mother, and Anya finally came home, Q and Donovan peppered them with questions. Anya was clearly distraught, and the Queen Mother looked like she'd seen a ghost. Pops Andy was the only calm one in the bunch, and he looked like he was holding on by a thread. He said, "Have a seat, boys. This isn't even something that I'm prepared to discuss with either of you right now. It's not even mine to share. It's your sister's story, and she'll share it with you when she's ready. Just know that we're handling it, and your sister needs all of our support. If you hear anything that you have questions about, come to me, not your mother and not your sister. Do you understand?" Q said, "No, I don't understand, because you haven't told me anything to understand. What is going on?" Pops Andy said, "Not now, son." Then he looked at Donovan and said, "Get your coat and your shoes on. I need you to ride with me."